Be prepared to spend the first part of your visit to Garland standing around with your mouth open going, wow. What do you do with your spare time? Well, retired DNR officer Charlie Kahn likes railroads. I mean, he really likes railroads. Sometimes in life you're lucky enough to meet a truly unique individual. Well, we did when we met Bill Hicks. What is one of Gaylord's oldest and best attractions? The Call of the Wild Museum.
Where would people be without places to enjoy? And what would a place be like without the unique and interesting people that give it character? This is People and Places with Perry.
What happens if someone walks in here with a 7-Up or a Pepsi in their hand?
We shoot them.
Hi, I'm Perry Wright. Up next, you'll meet some great people and see some really neat places. We're in Gaylord for a second week of this area's interesting people and places. We'll start here next. It's a strange-looking building on the outside and a very unique and interesting experience on the inside. It's the Call of the Wild Museum. We got the scoop from owner Bill Johnson.
The Call of the Wild has been here for 30 years. It's a natural history museum. There's every kind of wildlife that's native to this region of the United States and all of Michigan's wildlife, barring the rodents and a few of the reptiles.
Now, over the phone you told us that it had a unique start. There was another place, or maybe your father was involved in it. What's the story there?
Carl and Hattie Johnson started the underground forest in 1957.
Well, that's a strange name.
It was a museum like this, but it was built back into a hill, and he called it the underground forest. But it was a natural history museum, very similar to this one.
Where was that?
It was north of Frederick, about 15 miles south of here. It was on then US 27. When the expressway bypassed us, we moved to Gaylord.
And it's a family-owned business, been in the family a while?
Yes, it's a family-owned business. My family and my two sisters.
What's interesting about this building, it looks like it's made out of cement. It's almost like a bunker. Well, very unique. You don't see this anywhere else. What is it made out of?
It's a stucco building, concrete and steel with a stucco exterior and interior.
And why the design like this, to give an appearance that you're in a cave, or?
Kind of a cave-like appearance, yes.
Call of the Wild. It's an adventure and it's an education for the whole family. The animals and displays are so lifelike, you're tempted to try and feed them.
Are these timber wolves?
These are timber wolves. They're native to Michigan and the UP. There might be a few in the Lower Peninsula, but not many.
Watch out, Bill. That one's going to bite you. Just a joke. Just a little wolf joke.
These wolves were gotten in Canada, just north of Sault Ste. Marie. Yes, we have an elk herd right east and north of Gaylord, and they're a very majestic, very beautiful animal.
Big animals too, huh?
A very large animal.
Well, when you talk about big animals, you gotta be considering the moose.
These are Canadian moose. This is a pair of bulls fighting.
All the artwork and display realism is created by Bill, his family, and several local artists. The beaver scene background painting is 54 feet long. Every winter, Bill and his staff change many of the displays to keep the museum fresh and interesting.
So, Bill, what's the deal on this animal here? I don't think this one's from Michigan, is it?
This is a new display in progress.
That's a wild creature there, I'll tell you.
Oh, our ladders, you got to watch out for them.
Well, Bill, we're sitting in your poetry nook, and a lot of interesting poems here. What's the background on this?
My father really loved poetry, and now Janice has kind of taken over the poetry nook. And it's just nostalgic poems you might have learned as a child in school. Some people just love this little room. They'll sit down and read all the poems.
Now, Janice is your daughter?
Sister.
Sister.
I have two daughters that work here also.
The Call of the Wild Museum is also a great Western store and gift shop. For more information about Call of the Wild Museum in Gaylord, Michigan, call 517-732-4336. That's 517-732-4336. People and Places will be right back. Okay, take a guess. Where are we? Lake Tahoe? Colorado? Idaho? Nope. It's Garland in Lewiston, Michigan, and it's just plain beautiful.
We're going to let our friend here, Barry Owens, who happens to be the general manager here at Garland, tell us a little more about this place.
Garland started back in 1951 as for friends, family, and employees of Garland Manufacturing. It was just a little 9-hole golf course, and slowly grew over time, but really in 1986, after a fire in '85 had destroyed the clubhouse, it kind of rose out of the ashes, and our current owners, Ron and Joan Otto, put everything in place that you see here. In fact, in '86 there wasn't a single structure on the property, and we've got obviously very much involved with the log theme, so much so we now have a log home company. You can buy a Garland home from if you want and put on any property anywhere in the world, and that's...
So if you stay here and you like the looks of it, or if you just visit, you can contact this company, and if we have a piece of property up the road, go ahead and build it like this there?
You bet. In fact, yeah, we have a representative right here at the property. The manufacturing's done out west in Montana, where the logs are milled and put together, but yes.
So these logs are not native of Michigan?
Unfortunately, no. Most of them are from the Bitterroot Valley and from British Columbia out west.
What kind of logs are we looking at here, mainly?
Mostly pine, a lodgepole pine, and some spruce, but mostly pine.
Oh, very similar to the lodgepole pines that burned a few years ago at Yellowstone.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting. They don't use live logs for this process. They actually use dead logs, and they're usually either killed by fire or a special beetle. So it's you know, everybody profits from something, and when there's a large fire, it sometimes helps the log home industry.
I'll bet. You know what surprises me right off the bat is the diameter of the logs. You see a lot of log structures up here in this area, but nothing with diameter like this.
No, it's you have to have a pretty big building. These are 15-inch diameter logs, and you have to have a large building to not be dwarfed by the size of these logs. So some of the outbuildings are 12 and 10-inch logs, are a little bit smaller, that keep things more in perspective.
So let's talk a little bit about what kind of clientele would be interested in coming here. For example, you know, weekends, weeks, how do you do that? I know in the summer you're big on golf, in the winter big on cross-country skiing. Is this primarily for skiers and golfers, or is it a romantic getaway as well? The wintertime, we like to say that we sell romance, legally, I might add. But no, we have a lot of things geared in the wintertime. The cross-country skiing, it is geared towards couples. We have certain things, what we call a Chivago night dinner, which is a sleigh ride, where you go out to an old hunting lodge with about 8 or 10 couples and have a 5-course wild game gourmet dinner, which is just really, really special. One of the things we're doing today that you probably saw some skiers for is the gourmet glide, where people ski around on the trail to 5 different stops and have all different types of food. So the wintertime is very much more geared towards families and couples and romance, and the summertime is golf, very much golf. Okay, let's have some statistics. How many rooms in the entire resort?
We have, between condos and traditional hotel rooms, about 155 rooms. We can sleep about 400 people comfortably.
And some of those are small cabins you can rent, correct?
Correct. It's we have outbuildings. We call them villas, single villas, double villas, ski and golf cottages, and we have quite a variety of room types.
Now, I noticed this big, huge fireplace. In fact, I don't think anyone could walk by here and not notice it. And that's one of many. Any idea how many in the whole resort?
Fireplaces in the resort. There's about half the rooms have them in it, but fireplaces of this with the split fieldstone and everything else, there's about 5 of them.
Stone from Michigan?
Yes, sure is. Yep.
So basically the logs from out west, the stone from Michigan, and put them together and you have Garland.
Yes, and along with all the touches of the marble and the stained glass and everything else, it's people sometimes they hear about Garland, they hear about this log cabin lodge, and they're a little surprised when they get here because it's far from just a log cabin. From the Oriental rugs, the marble, we like to call it rustic elegance. I think our staff does a wonderful job of taking care of people and making sure that they enjoy themselves, and I think we do it in a way that hopefully makes people feel comfortable. And then I think the location too. I mean, it's, you know, people come here to get away, to get out of the city, to relax, to see the wildlife, to be able to park their car and stay away from it for 3 or 4 days and just enjoy their stay.
More people and more places up next.
Well, we're down in Charlie Kahn's basement right here in Gaylord, just outside of Gaylord. Charlie Kahn, I was told by the Chamber of Commerce, who found out from the newspaper here in town, is a railroad expert as well as being a retired DNR officer. Charlie, how are you?
Fantastic. Enjoying this, and the cold weather is something else, but other than that, it's great.
Well, I bet you in the cold weather you're down here quite a bit playing with this,
Oh,
huh?
yeah, this is nice and warm down here. We make sure of that. This is where I spend a great deal of my time, mostly in the other room doing darkroom work, but sometimes in here demonstrating the railroad to whoever would like to see it.
Now, this is a makeup of Bad Axe.
Yeah, I'm originally from Bad Axe, and then so I called the railroad the Bad Axe and Huron Shore. And anybody that knows the Bad Axe area knows it's fairly flat, and so we made it mountainous just as something for a sidelight.
You told me there was a lot of tongue-in-cheek in this little railroad setup. Give us some examples.
Well, the sign right there where the train's going through right now, Universal Maze of Corn People. I'm a Michigan State graduate, so we like to take our pokes at those from the other side of the state.
Of course, you have a building burning behind your right shoulder there as well,
Right.
and that building's something special, right?
Yeah, that's the IRS building. I got in a disagreement with them a few years back, and I saw this kit that said have the IRS on fire, so we don't do anything other than that, but we do enjoy that.
It makes you feel good, though, doesn't
Yeah,
it, Charlie?
right, it does as we watch it go by.
Charlie took us from his train room to his photo room, and that's when his love of history took over.
Well, we're in Charlie's dark room, and he's got over 10,000 photographs in here. He travels around and does exhibits. We don't have time to show you 10,000 of them, but Charlie, you also have a map here. What's the deal on this map?
Okay, about 4 or 5 years ago, I completed this map. It's a map of the railroad grades of our county, Otsego County, and mostly logging grades for temporarily and usually about a year or so. And I walked all of them, 600 miles of grade. There was a whole road system here that is not being used as a road system now. A lot of these grades are just in the fields or in the backyards or wherever. This is the depot at Central Lake, located in Antrim County, north of Bel Air, on the Pierre Marquette main line from Traverse City up to Petoskey. And that would be around 1905.
Now, Charlie, what happened to all these old engines? Did they cut them up for scrap? They're not around anymore. What happens to stuff like that?
Yeah, they cut them up to scrap. I have pictures of that, too. It's kind of sad for us railroad buffs to see those things junked out, but they made a lot of bullets in World War II with them, and artillery shells and tanks and things. Okay, this is how I acquire pictures. A collector down in Clio, Carlton Johnson, has loaned me his whole collection, and I re-photograph them into 4x5 or 35 millimeter, and then I make prints from them. I don't actually collect originals, I collect reproductions.
You have some interesting photos here that are photos of days gone by, is the best way to put it, and you have these mounted, some of the 10,000 or so you have in this room. Why don't you explain a little bit as to what we're looking at?
Okay, this first one is the East Jordan and Southern, and that was a little railroad that ran from Bel Air to East Jordan, Michigan, and that was a logging operation. It operated up into the late 60s. The next one over to the left there is the Cobb and Mitchell operation that was in Cadillac and Kalkaska counties, another logging operation. The furthest left there is the depot at Rapid City, and that was on the Pierre Marquette main line from Grand Rapids up to Petoskey, and there was a branch line that went into Kalkaska County. This little station here is at a place called Halleck out in Otsego County, and all it is now is just four corners on a road, and you would never know there was even a town there. And at one time there was several houses and a railroad depot and a water tank. The last one is an operation down in the DeWard area, and this was an old steam jammer that they used to load logs onto the railroad cars and haul them out. David Ward, this was a David Ward operation on the railroad called the Detroit and Charlevoix that didn't go to Detroit or Charlevoix. It went from Frederick to East Jordan.
Makes you wonder where they got that name.
Well,
huh?
they were into grandiose names, believe me.
Great stuff. Thanks for the time here today, Charlie.
Charlie is available for seminars, black and white photo duplication, and slide programs. For more information, call 517-732-2872. That's 517-732-2872. We'll be right back with People and Places. What happened to those great glass Coke bottles? The old pop machine down at the corner gas station. What happened to that 5-cent bottle of Coke? Well, Bill Hicks has them all at his Bottle Cap Museum.
We started this collection of Coca-Cola about 20 years ago. I started out with one 10-ounce white Coca-Cola bottle. It was a throwaway, and I had about 18 of those thrown off into a pile, and somebody said they were worth $5 a piece. I said, you're nuts. But I got to looking around, and there was a lot of Coca-Cola stuff to collect, and I think I've collected a lot of it.
All right, we're moving into the second area of the museum. Now, this is the stuff that's not for sale. This is your own personal collection for viewing only, correct?
This is correct. And there is a charge to go through the museum of $2.50 a person. But
How about if we go free today?
Well,
So
you guys,
just cut us a little slack?
we're doing this one
Okay.
as a gratis basis. You do get a Coca-Cola and a pass to come back for 6 months on a free ticket. And so the $2.50 per person, and that's for adults. Seniors have a special rate, and so do children. Some of the things I'd like to point out as we go through are just the old magazine ads out of the 40s and the 50s. And then we have candy dishes from 1936.
Is that silver?
No, that's pewter
Pewter.
and aluminum. It's a very nice piece. It's valued at approximately $200, and this one is in very good shape. We have all kinds of things around on the walls, trays and tin cans, leaded glass chandelier that's a reproduction also. We have a corner that's Christmas corner. We have Pamela Renfro prints on the walls.
Where do you find all this stuff?
Garage sales, antique stores. The Renfro prints are from Pamela Renfro in Hartwell, Georgia. She does a very nice job. I have 9 of those framed and hanging on the walls.
Amazing. I'll tell you what, next we want to go downstairs and check out the big part of the museum.
Let's go down to the basement and show you the museum now.
Trays, bottles, signs, posters, cans, dishes, pictures, bikes, clocks, coolers, dolls, radios, records. Everything in the place has the famous Coca-Cola trademark on it, and I mean everything.
We're in what's the basement of the museum, and this is the cavernous place that we talked about upstairs. And let me tell you, when you walk in here, you will not believe what you'll see. And Bill, I'm sure you get that reaction from everyone that walks down that aisle.
That is the comment that we hear. I didn't know there was this much stuff. And they start walking around. Of course, at this point, I give them a Coca-Cola, and they're carrying a Coke with them while they're looking at the museum. There are people like myself all over the world. It's a Coca-Cola International Collectors Club, and it's about 8,000 strong with 17 I think it's 17 different chapters.
And you have get-together several times a year?
Yeah,
you trade
swap meets and trades, and there's garage sales and all kinds of things that you can go to get Coca-Cola items.
What's your most prized item? I mean, what of all this collection would you never give up?
Probably the hat that I'm wearing. I like this. This is a 1930 driver hat, and I like it. I've had this for a long time, and it's probably as good a thing as I have.
Well, I have to tell you, Bill, the hat's you. Don't ever lose it.
We have coolers and go-karts and all kinds of stuff, but I like this as much as anything.
You ever let anybody else wear the hat?
Yes, the driver that delivers Coca-Cola here has come in and borrowed my hat to deliver Coke in.
Well, let's get a shot of me with it on. How's
There
that?
you go.
All right.
There you go.
How's it look, Bill?
Well, it looks a little crooked, but that's better.
Ask Bill Hicks what his favorite soft drink is, and he'll show you several thousand reasons why it's got to be Coca-Cola.
Well, we're sitting here at Bill's table having a nice drink of well, you guessed it, Coca-Cola. Compliments of Bill Hicks. Bill, you have that in a cooler here. In fact, we're surrounded by some coolers, some old coolers.
Right.
Are these working models? Do they still work, or are they just for looking at now?
All of my coolers are working.
You ever fire them up just for old time's sake, see if they still knock the temperature down on one of those Cokes?
We have done so. When I opened this 2 years ago, I did serve out of the old ice cooler, and that was a lot of fun. People really got a big bang out of opening the cover and picking up a Coke out of the ice and opening it and standing there drinking Coca-Cola.
Are you happy about these little bottles making a comeback, the little glass ones?
They are terrific. The taste out of the glass bottle is so much better than out of plastic or the aluminum tin cans. It's unbelievable. It's just incredible flavor. They started bottling Coca-Cola in Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1894. 1915, they standardized the Coca-Cola bottle to the old green one that everybody is familiar with from childhood. People enjoy this. I have had 3 officials from Atlanta, Georgia in here, and they took pictures of each other standing beside different things and laughing and having a good time. They were down there for 3 hours.
Heck, I think they ought to put you on the board.
I'd like to be on the board.
What happens if someone walks in here with a 7-Up or a Pepsi in their hand?
We shoot them. No, we don't. We understand that there is other...
The world loves an honest man. You know that, Bill?
I can't be a politician.
There you go.
Anyway.
For more information about the Bottle Cap Museum, call 517-732-1931. That's 517-732-1931. Thanks for watching our show. I'm Perry Wright, and this is People and Places. If you have an idea for People and Places, send us a card to P.O. Box 310875. That's 310-875, Flint, Michigan 48531.